Good morning to Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Also, a warm welcome to everyone joining us live. As we gather just days before Christmas, I extend season's greetings to you and your families. To our remote viewers, we wish you a joyous and safe holiday filled with health, happiness, and prosperity. Thank you for being with us this morning at the GIS for Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre's final press conference of 2024. As we approach the close of another year, the Prime Minister will highlight the government of St. Lucia's key achievements and developments across critical sectors in 2024. Before we begin, I kindly ask for your cooperation in adhering to a few housekeeping rules to ensure a smooth and productive session. Number one, there will be a dedicated question and answer session after the Prime Minister's remarks. Kindly hold your questions until that time. When invited, please identify your name and media house before asking your question. Number two, to ensure clarity for all present and those watching or listening remotely, please wait for the microphone to be handed to you before asking your questions. In the interest of time and fairness, each reporter will be allowed a maximum of 2 questions per round. And number 4, members of the media are permitted to record the proceedings and take photographs during the Prime Minister's address and question and answer session. However, kindly refrain from obstructing the view of others. Also, please keep all your phones on silent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite to the podium the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, who will make a few remarks. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Good morning to ladies and gentlemen of the press. Good morning to all viewers. I'll make a short statement and after we'll entertain your questions. When elected in 2021, my government promised to put the people of St. Lucia first. We called on all St. Lucians to put their shoulders to the wheel and work together to grow the economy. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, the whole economy has experienced unprecedented price increases due to production shortfalls, supply chain issues, and international conflicts. These price increases have also been felt right here at home. In St. Lucia, we are not price makers, but instead we are price takers. It is painful to note the impact that imported inflation has had on families, especially single parents and the elderly. Since 2021, we sought to cushion the impact of these price increases on the people of St. Lucia. We have increased the taxable allowance to $3,000 to $30,000 per year, which means that no St. Lucian worker getting $2,500 or less per month pays any income tax. We have for 2 years made one-off payments to government pensioners. We have increased the NIC pensions from a minimum of $300 to $500 monthly. The NIC has also increased its payments to their pensioners. No government pensioner now earns less than $750 monthly. Again, another increase. We have implemented the minimum livable wage of $1,131 monthly. This was an historic achievement which demonstrated that our commitment to improving the welfare of the workers in the country and assisting in coping with the rise in prices referred to earlier. We continue to subsidize basic foodstuff, including LPG cooking gas. We removed service charge on all basic foodstuff. I have encouraged the government's negotiating team to expedite the negotiations with public servants. I am informed that the government negotiating team and the trade unions have agreed on all allowances and benefits and have now agreed on a 13% wage increase for the period 2022 to 2028. A tax-free back pay will be paid in February 2025. You will note that this is a 6-year period. This is a remarkable and powerful statement of confidence and trust in the public servants of St. Lucia. I had hoped that we would have completed negotiations early enough for all affected workers to receive their back pay for Christmas. However, we were not able to achieve that date. I think that all public sector workers do deserve to receive some compensation for their patience and understanding. On my request, the Cabinet of Ministers has agreed to a payment of a one-off bonus of $500 to every public sector worker. This means that 12,381 workers on the government's monthly payroll will receive their bonus before Christmas. I sincerely hope that all public sector workers will see such payment as a statement of our faith in the commitment to the progress of our beloved country. We will continue to work together to grow our economy, face our challenges rigorously, and collectively create a better life for all. I wish everyone in St. Lucia season's greetings and a prosperous 2025. I thank you.
The floor is now open for the question and answer session.
Mr. Prime Minister, St. Lucia might be accused of having a very good year in 2024 with a series of like global strength wins, international wins, cricket, Honey, Seymour, Skoko, and of course Julian Alfred, among other things. I wonder, when you look at the way things are going, is this something sustainable, this repeated achieving of excellence? Or is this maybe like a blip that we're having I think that will pass? Like say like when Derek Walcott won the Nobel Prize, it came and it went, and we were the same afterwards. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, there will not be another Olympics for the next couple of years. So we will not have a 100-meter winner in the short run. But, you know, St. Lucia has been on a trajectory of growth and of improvement. What's important to me is that the people of St. Lucia benefit from that growth, and the people of St. Lucia benefit from the achievements of our icons. As you know, Julian Alfred is now a tourism ambassador, so she will continue to promote St. Lucia. So we need to grow these strengths. We need to seek from these strengths the opportunities that are needed for St. Lucia to reach even higher heights. And the government will continue to promote and to support these achievements. You spoke of honey. Honey, in terms of what's happening to honey, that is a serious dent in the diversification of our agriculture. Then there is CMOS. So we're making some tangible steps, not talking about it, but tangible steps that you can touch so you see where the country is going. But of course, there is need for improvement. There is never any perfect country. There is need for improvement, and St. Lucia will continue to strive for that level of improvement.
Maybe address some of the challenges for the next year?
Well, first of all, there is this challenge of climate change, something that we can never determine what will happen as far as climate change is concerned. We're very concerned about the level of gun violence. we're concerned about level of gun violence. And only yesterday, for the first time since 2019, we graduated 78 policemen from training, policemen and women. And I've asked that another cohort of 80 new policemen, new police recruits, will begin training by February next year. They've already started that increase in the members of the St. Lucia Royal Police Service. So that means by the end of next year, we're going to have about 160 new policemen on the ground in St. Lucia. First time. We're actually going to increase the numbers. And it's the first time from 2019 we've trained any new policemen. Further, I've always made the point, our job is to provide the resources for the police. Next year, we hope to open the Grosley Police Headquarters. It's an ultra-modern police headquarters for the police. We're going to be opening the Southern headquarters that has been closed from 2019. It has been closed. We're going to be opening it very early next year. We're going to be opening the custody suites that has had some stops because of supply chain issues, etc. That's going to be open next year. Again, the custody suites were closed, so the police had nowhere to keep people when they were arrested. That is a fact. We are going to be opening that. The Ansari police station is in problems. I've just approved to move the policemen from Ansari to somewhere else, because we have to do work on the Ansari police station. And we're going to be doing work on all the other police stations that need repair. We've increased the resources to the police. Our job will be to give the police the resources to deal with the gun violence and the crime in this country. Next year, in fact, next year, starting from January, I'm going to ensure that we can retrofit the police with bulletproof vests and what they ask for. They've been asking for that. From next year, January, we're going to ensure that we're going to give them the necessary equipment that they want. We've put unprecedented resources in combating crime. That's all we can do. Then the other part of the equation is for the police to take their responsibility seriously and to do what they have to do. And I must tell you, the majority of policemen are trying. It's a very difficult situation. It's not something that I'm proud of, but I must tell you, crime, there seems to have been a pandemic of crime after COVID in the entire region. That's not an excuse. I'm not saying that to make an excuse. I'm saying as a fact. In one weekend, in one of our sister countries, 44 people got killed through gun crimes. Countries that never experienced crime before, they experience it now. This is no comfort for me. Nor is it the time for us to gloat and laugh and use these numbers for political mileage. It's a time when you have to get together to deal with an issue that seems to be a scourge of crime. Yesterday, there was mass shooting in the US. Only yesterday, a 15-year-old. There seems to be something happening as far as crime is concerned. So I want to tell all the people of St. Lucia, let's get together to deal with it. You make no political mileage by highlighting or glorifying crime or blaming the Prime Minister or any other person for crime. So that is a challenge that we're going to face next year.
Good morning. Just two questions, one on youth and one on the economy. Of course, you would have highlighted your administration's benefits for your public servants. I think a question for many other St. Lucians is, what would be some of your administration's incoming benefits for private sector workers and businesses?
Well, the government, in terms of private sector, is something that we've missed. The government has given a tax amnesty for the private sector. This means that all taxes due before the year, I think it's 2000, I'm not sure, have been waived. These are some things you have to remember. And all taxes, income tax, VAT, property tax, hotel occupancy tax, all these taxes that were due, all the interest and fines have been waived. This means that we've strengthened the balance sheets of all businesses so they can go to the bank and get loans, etc. Further, if you look at the surveys from the Chamber of Commerce, an independent body, you will see that most businesses have agreed that there have been an improvement, and they intend or they believe that that trend will continue. There are a number of capital projects that the government will pursue. The government is going to build an administrative center in the south of the country. The government is going to complete St. Jude Hospital. The government is going to begin early next year work on the Dr. Martin D.D. Polyclinic in Grosley. The government will early next year begin construction on the improvement of the emergency care center at the Dr. Winston Parish Medical Complex. I heard this morning that there's been some glorification of a leak at the Betty Well Center. I want to assure you that happens in every construction, that the leaks appear. That is going to be remedied almost immediately. And the urgent care building has been gutted as we speak. Designs are being prepared to have an ultra-modern urgent care facility at the old emergency ward at the Victoria Hospital, now called the Dr. Winston Parish Complex.
Okay, yes, thank you. And my second question, you would have launched the Youth Economy Agency, which is currently giving out grants to young entrepreneurs. As finance minister, what is the way forward, or what is the vision for the Youth Economy Agency?
The Youth Economy will begin implementing its loan policy. It will begin to implement its loan portfolio very shortly. So we've been doing grants. We're going to be doing loans from January. Everything is in place. I think the SLDB is aligned, and the loan portfolio will start in January next year. This is moving forward. So we continue the grants and then move into the loan portfolio.
Morning, Prime Minister. Lucia Joseph, DBS Television. Let me start on crime. So many questions. I'm still to get our one-on-one, so I hope that the two questions per round would suffice.
I keep my promises.
Okay, sir. This is it, right?
Huh?
You'll keep your promise?
With you, sure.
Oh, okay.
We'll have
thank
this
you.
one-on-one. We have to.
Okay, thank
I said
you.
we go a long way.
Yes, of course. Okay. You mentioned crime earlier, and
as a challenge.
And you participated the crime symposium, crime as a public health issue, right? Recently there in Ghana. But I don't think that you really articulated how St. Lucia will be approaching crime as a public health issue. If you can articulate for us coming out of that meeting. I know you said that St. Lucia is advanced in what it is doing to combat crime, but if you can give us a further indication as some of the plans that may be on the table where that is concerned.
Okay.
In connection to that, so that's one question of two parts. Part B, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the constant rotating of the person at the helm. The acting commissioner, his contract will soon be coming to an end, I believe by February next year. Can you speak to us about what are the plans on the table to make the Commissioner of Police more stable? Do you believe that this is affecting the morale of the police force? This, if they feeling that they're certainly not on a steady footing? And the other question that I have, you mentioned the NIC earlier, and I just wanted to get some clarification as to where we are. The IMF, in its Article 4 consultation for 2024, I believe it was completed November 2025, or November 25th, 2024, I apologize, the Article 4 consultation. And it is saying that ensuring the sustainability of the National Insurance Corporation, the IMF is pointing out that it is critical. And I want to quote what they're saying here. The NIC proposed reforms to gradually raise contribution rates and the early retirement age, extending the fund's projected depletion from 2051 to 2080, deserve support, but should be part of a more comprehensive strategy. Additionally, measures could include pension caps and voluntary investment options for high earners, as discussed in the 2024 ECCU staff report. Just wanted you to give us some indication here. Those proposed reforms for extending the retirement age, how serious of a problem it is for the depletion of the fund, and they are pointing out the year 2051 as the projected time for that. And if we do what they are proposing, that depletion projection can be extended to 2080. So if you can just give us some clarification on those matters. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, I'm very happy that you said the IMF said. So this is not what the government of St. Lucia is saying. The government of St. Lucia may not even agree. But we live international, and that's what the IMF says. But and I'm glad you brought up that topic about pensions. Next year, I'm going to make, you preempted me, you're in my mind. I wanted to make that a surprise, but you're in my mind. Anyhow, see, Lisa is she gets in my mind sometimes. Sometimes with the wrong information, but she gets it there sometimes. You see, you know, the issue of pensions, Lisa, is a very important issue. In Canada, the pension age, in fact, there is no pension age, I think, don't quote me, in Canada. You stay to work as long as you can. The issue of pension is very, very sensitive. In Barbados, they've increased it to 68 or 67 or 68. Do you know in St. Lucia, public servants, at 55 years of age, all those in public service before 2001, at 55 years of age, were considered pensioners, and they got non-contributionary. They didn't contribute to it. They got a pension and gratuity till death from 55 years of age. That's a fact. The IMF had constantly preached that this was not sustainable. At 55 years of age, you still have, in terms of workable life, at least 15, 20 more years of workable life. And you collected a pension till death that you did not contribute to, in terms of contributions. The IMF had warned against that. In 2001, as usual, the government of the Labour Party normally takes the bold, sometimes politically not expedient decisions. And it took the decision that anybody who joined the public service after 2001 would have contributed to NIC or NIS, whatever you want to call it, and then they would get pension, but not a gratuity. Here's the suggestion that we're going to put to public servants. I'm very sorry you preempted me. We're going to see if we can create for public servants a pension fund, a contributory pension fund, where the government will make a contribution voluntary, and the public servant would also make a contribution. So at the retirement age, apart from their pensions, they will get a gratuity. But that doesn't mean that we still have an issue with sustainability of the IMF, or of the sustainability of NIC as referred to by the IMF. What I intend to do, in frankness, and together we have to sit with the public servants, we have to sit with the NIC and come to a mutually agreeable solution on that problem. It's not a problem of the government, because by the time that time comes, I'll be dead. So it's not a government problem. It's a problem for the young people who in the year 2050 will be alive and kicking. I'll be dead. Most of the politicians around now will also be dead, most of them. So it is a serious situation that we have to deal with. At that point, and we have to start these discussions early, and starting with the plan for the endowment for public servants, that conversation will continue. Referring to the Commissioner of Police, the fact is, the acting Commissioner of Police has the same powers as the Commissioner of Police. There is no difference in terms of power that the acting commissioner has that the commissioner doesn't have. But let's look at a history. And again, it's very good for us to look at the history. In 2001, we found that the police commissioner was due for retirement. We extended his contract. We didn't change. We extended his contract. And you must again look at the history. Then that extension of the contract was not renewed because it had an extension already. Because he came in on contract with the previous government, we kept him. Then we looked into the ranks and we found a lady, the first woman commissioner in St. Lucia. We made her commissioner. We extended that contract. Again, she was from retirement. We extended the contract, keep her in. Right now, we have Mr. Vern Gard, who is a younger person in terms of years of service. He is now the acting commissioner of police. We will look at his tenure, we'll look at his performance, and the decision will be taken. But I want to make it clear that there is no distinction in terms of powers and in terms of influence and with an acting commissioner and a commissioner of police. No distinction. In terms of crime as a public health issue, public health, every gunshot, every person that's shot, it costs the health services about $200,000 to bring that person back if they do not succumb. And even if they succumb in the hospital, the charges are the same. So we are dealing with the gross part of it first, improving the emergency care services, which is a gross way to look at it. But the important thing with crime seems to be conflict resolution. We do not seem to be able to deal with our conflicts without violence. And we want to develop an angry country. We want to develop people who are angry. We want to develop people who are vexed. We are calling our people to be angry. And that again, it may not be something that may be done willingly, but this constant calls for anger and hatred and I believe may have an impact on the people of the country. Because the people who are making these calls are not bram. The people who are making these calls are people who have influence on the public of St. Lucia. They are people who the public of St. Lucia had showed confidence in them. And we respect that. But when this calls for anger, and this calls for vexation, and this calls for this calls for people, let's do that, let's get vexed. Why are you not vexed? Why are you not angry? That may have an influence on crime. May have. Because people just seem to be losing their cool for simple reasons. You can't mash somebody's toe in Castries now. Please don't mash in anybody's toe. You never know what might come. We experiencing, another thing I want to mention is the road accidents. Why are we driving so recklessly? Why are we doing that? Again, personal responsibility. We have to tell people about being, instead of telling them to be angry, you have to tell them to be responsible. Because I want to say that most of the accidents in this country could be avoided if we drove slowly, or if we did not drive as fast. And if accidents did take place, without that speed, there would have been less fatalities. But what do? Instead of, we say to people, be responsible, we blame everything else, particularly the government. We blame the roads. I'm not saying the roads do not improvement. The roads, of course, the roads need improvement. Of course, there are potholes. Of course. And next year, with all things being cleared now, we are going to be dealing with the road infrastructure in the country. We've started on the Chaucer Road. We've started. But the point I'm making to you is we have to tell people to be a little more responsible and stop finding ways and means of making excuses when these excuses are inexcusable. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there are more questions?
Yeah, good day, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good day.
Yeah, we notice that there's been a lot of focus on social interventions. But one of the concerns is that, despite the programs that have been rolled out, the policies, the youth economy, and, there is a certain lack of involvement of the welfare officers. There are people on the kids out in the different communities that, that they figure these programs don't reach out to them. In terms of the roles of welfare officers, would it not merit a little more, give it a little more impetus if, these people could at least be going out to the communities to meet out with the young people, and canvas for productivity. And also we have the youth delinquents, dropouts from schools. Isn't there a way that the welfare officers could keep data on these kids before they go astray? We have young gangs now, that there has to be the social welfare of the country has to be taken to a more in-depth, a more level playing field.
Yeah, good question. But first of all, we have to talk about responsibility of parents. That's the first thing. Before we look on welfare officers and delinquent officers, we have to look at parents. We have to try to develop more responsible parents. The best treatment or the best service you can give our kids is if our parents take their responsibility. And that's what we're speaking about, personal responsibility. Parents must take responsibility first for their children. First of all, parents. Secondly, in next year's budget, we're going to be increasing the number of, they no longer call welfare officers, they're social transformation officers. We're going to be increasing the number of bodies that do that kind of work. But I want to tell you that the press should understand that the government cannot be everywhere, every time, doing things that we have to do ourselves. I want to urge the parents of St. Lucia to take personal responsibility for their children, to develop a set of priorities for your children. So the first responsibility is parents. We need better parents. We need better parenting. And next year we're going to see if we can improve that. Government can improve parenting, but the government can improve facilitation, trying to educate adults to raise their children properly. Because the first teacher is the parent. That's the first teacher.
Yes. Just one more. Yeah. In terms of the how you call them, the town councils and the village councils, we know ordinarily that these people are tasked with mostly, the cleaning, the upkeep of the communities. But there has been a suggestion. It is just a suggestion, but that in terms of we have a lot of roads in St. Lucia, a lot of bad roads, a lot of why not have how you call this, road crews, work repair crews from these communities. There are a lot of guys sitting on the block, there are a lot of guys doing nothing, there are a lot of patch, there are a lot of roads, and the time that it takes for the government to, get the Ministry of Infrastructure, to use these people, just like we have the STEP program, instead of cutting veg, why not use these people? Because then you could produce civil engineers, you could produce, different workers to sustain that.
You see, I just wanted to show you what good parenting is about. You see, Dale? Just wanted to show you an example. That's the example that fathers will show. You see, if his daughter working there, that's very nice. Congratulations. This is what good parenting is all about. You understand? Hello. How are you? Very nice. Well, you see, we have to. In terms of video, we have the STEP program, right? We have the STEP program, which is part-time. There's also the road maintenance program, which we intend to see how we can do budget allowance, see if we can extend it. But again, Mr. Andrew, personal responsibility. People dump garbage and want you to pay them to take it out. Personal responsibility. In Singapore, when you hear people speak about Singapore, in Singapore, every man cleans in front of his house. We've come to a position now where we dump garbage and you want a contract to pick it up. We refuse to take personal responsibility for in front of our house. If everybody cleans the drain in the front of the house, the drain in the entire community will be clean. But we don't do it. And we have to urge that civic responsibility. We have to stop the idea the government has never, and the government will never be able to cure all the ills in the society. The government can assist. We are assisting. We have the STEP program. We have the crews. But we must instill in the public of St. Lucia a sense of personal responsibility for their lives and for the communities.
Hi, good day, Prime Minister. Zain Romulus with DBS. I just wanted to find out this administration's plans for the possible improvement or expansion of the commercial port. Yesterday at a press conference, Last Point Customs Excise Department would have indicated that they are, running out of storage space. We see there are improvements. Well, there will be improvements to the cruise port, but what about the commercial ports? Are there any plans for expansion, the Castries port? Any plans also for the Buckeye terminal? And what is happening with the ports down in V4?
Okay, sure. Well, the country has been a victim of its own success. That's what happened to us. We are victim of our own success. The volume of imports is unprecedented. So we never planned, and again, it's always good to have hindsight, 2020 hindsight. We never planned for this massive increase in imports. We never planned for that massive increase in terms of infrastructure. There's a hotel that's going up where they just cannot get building material. So the economic expansion has almost caught us flat-footed. And that's a fact. These are not tales out of school. You can see it happening. It's a fact. So GPH, and that is why when we segregated the tourism part and the cargo part, was to allow the cargo part more leverage to be able to expand their operations. So right now, the debt that SLASPA had, as it entailed the cruise part of their business, that has been paid. I know SLASPA earlier this year bought a new crane, bought a modern crane. That's going to continue. The expansion of the port will continue in terms of making it more sustainable and making trade, in terms of trade facilitation. In Vieux-Fort, you're speaking about the Vieux-Fort cargo port. We mustn't lump the cargo part of the business and the tourism part of it. And it's two different things. The cargo part of tourism. Vieux-Fort has a peculiar issue in terms of, like, you know, there's been a lot of talk about doing a cruise port in Vieux-Fort, right? There are a lot of studies on that. But you know, sometimes we cut ribbons, we show renderings of things that we know are not possible because of what the science is. But we don't want to go into that now. Port Vieux-Fort plans, look at Port Vieux-Fort, are ongoing. They're ongoing. But we've released ourselves from the debt of the cruise. So next year, we're going to begin looking at the plans for the expansion of both of these ports. But it's a crucial situation. I mean, there's the ports are busting at the seams. The importers are complaining, consumers are complaining, because we are part of that expansion was not expected, and we caught with our flat-footed. But customs, I think they have extended the opening hours, right? And at the same time, they must be vigilant, because the bad guys will take that opportunity for the importation of weapons, importation of firearms, etc. So, whereas, you know, and sometimes we must feel a level of concern for our law enforcement people, because they want to expedite matters. Most customs officers would like to facilitate, but the question is, you have to facilitate, and you have to enforce, and you have to be vigilant. So that's the problem. But the plans are well on the way for the expansion of these ports.
Okay, second question from me. The Chamber of Commerce at its last AGM spoke of, I guess, being more involved in the shaping of the government's fiscal policies. They are suggesting a forum ahead of every budget. I don't know if you've heard the
yes,
suggestion.
I'm going to meet them, yeah.
So what do you agree with this suggestion?
Sure. The Chamber of Commerce, we are going to meet them. In fact, I think the Permanent Secretary has met them. And as I've always said to you, Zain, and to everybody in the country, this Prime Minister is looking for no conflict with anybody. I'm not a conflict Prime Minister. I'm a consensus Prime Minister. I'm a Prime Minister that believes in dialogue. I'm a Prime Minister that believes in speaking to people to come to consensus. I'm not a conflict Prime Minister. I don't get involved in conflicts with bodies. I try to avoid it. The Chamber of Commerce, if they have a need, if they have a complaint, they can talk to us. They can talk to me. I'll facilitate it. I have dealt with many issues that have remained very silent, because my nature is not consensus. I never believe I know everything, and I get criticized for that also. I believe in consensus. I believe in dialogue. I believe in all of us getting together for the benefit of all. This is my style of servant leadership. Let's talk. I'm not the boss. I'm temporary. I'm temporary, the people of Lucia have given me the privilege to be the Prime Minister. I appreciate it, but I'm humbled but honored. So I want to talk to people. Chamber of Commerce want to talk, let's talk. Unions want to talk, let's talk. Opposition want to talk, let's talk. That's why. So I'll talk to anybody.
They did indicate that, at least under your administration, they've had, I guess, some issues with not having enough consultation. They did mention one specific policy of yours, which was the increase in the establishment of the minimum wage. Have you had any recent communication with them about that and their concerns over the impact on business?
Well, the Employers Federation were deeply involved in negotiations on the minimum wage. And again, we have to look at what the law says. And again, Zain, let's look at the facts. The facts. The facts. Not the emotion, the facts. The minimum wage was not implemented before it was gazetted. Huh? After a committee was formed that included the Employers Federation, that the Chamber of Commerce are members of the consumers, of the Employers Federation, there was time for public discussion and public discourse. For everybody to come and discuss it. Everybody could have come. Chamber of Commerce, Union, everybody could come. Even after a committee was formed. A committee. So it wasn't a secret. There was a call for public discussion. So I'm very sorry if the Chamber of Commerce believed that they had to be apart, they had to be kept, they had to be treated differently than they were treated before. I sincerely apologize. It wasn't meant. That wasn't meant. There was a call for public discussion. But the Chamber of Commerce will benefit. Because when the workers get more money, their disposable income increases. Particularly the workers at the lower scale of income. So the public service will surely, the Chamber of Commerce will surely benefit. But if they believe we should have more discussion apart from what was mandated in law and apart from what took place, we apologize.
Okay, just final question.
With the housekeeping rules, you have exhausted your questions with this round. We will take
Can
a
I
question
ask
from
another
Ika now, and you can go back to the...
Yeah, let's Zain. Zain is special. Eh? DBS is special.
Just a final
in
question.
many ways.
So we've seen, I guess, over the course of a few of the administrations, the stoppage of a lot of projects, infrastructural projects.
Be careful there.
Well, yeah. And we had complaints from the public.
First of all, the projects. List those that will stop. List them. Let's go.
I can't list them all. But
I can list for you.
Each administration coming in has their own, I guess, their policy and how that project how it should turn out. And we've seen projects that have, extended way beyond what they should. Your administration, what are your plans to, I guess, have this national development plan so that we don't see this issue? Okay.
First of all, the history of stopping projects, not the history of my administration. There's a long history of that, which we don't want to go into, because now is a time of seasons of goodwill and good cheer and back pay for civil servants and bonus for civil servants. That's what we're doing now. We're in a very festive mood, right? So we're not talking about what happened in the past, but the history will show you that we're not the ones to stop projects. But that's for another show. Projects. St. Jude Hospital continued, stopped. Never anyhow. Let's not go there. As I said, that's not even Lisa has a new line of questioning today. She's in the spirit of So we're not dealing with these things today. It's a season of enjoyment and happiness.
Yes, it's true.
We will stop. We will agree with you. We shouldn't stop this. The same way we didn't stop the Millennium Highway. With all these issues, we never stopped it. be continued. The major project that we found, we didn't stop. And if you can tell me, St. Jude Hospital, we didn't stop. If you want to talk about the airport, we can have a whole discussion about it. An entire discussion about the airport. I don't think it's the right time for that. But we didn't stop it, eh? You never stopped the airport. But that's an entire discussion which we can have. And next year, I can assure you, Zain, we're going to be much more upfront with the facts. So you can look to see me a lot more often next year, and my ministers. Because there are a lot of things that come out in this country that sound like information, and it's a misinformation. Complete fabrication. Complete. Not even a hint of truth. Complete fabrication. But it's not the time for that. But I can assure you, next year, we are going to be debunking every piece of misinformation that comes out in this country. Every piece. We're going to be relentless. Because the public of St. Lucia cannot be fed misinformation constantly. Twice, 3 times a week. But as I said, this is not the time for that. But in terms of stopping projects, we didn't stop the Millennium Highway. We never stopped it, continued. That is another story of its own. We didn't stop St. Jude. We didn't stop it. Continued. What's the other cabinet? And we didn't stop the airport. We continued working on the control tower. We continued the CATCOP project in terms of the runway. We continued. We amended our thoughts on the terminal building with reason. But what was stopped was the PPP program. That's what stopped.
Yeah.
But we never stopped what was going on. Yes.
What I wanted to get from you was, because whether you see it as not you or whether it was the former administration or the administration prior to that, the problem, we have a problem. That is a fact. And there is a lot of money being wasted, right, when projects are halted or whatever it is. Do you believe that the country should come up with a national development plan that we do not have these issues, where we decide as a country, not as an administration or political party, that this is what we want for our country? Okay. And so that we don't have these issues ever happening again.
Yeah, that is an ideal that you must aspire for. An ideal. Perfect. You sit down, you bring everybody together, and you have a national development plan for the country. An ideal. What we can have. But the implementation of that plan would vary according to political parties. That is a system that we live in. Any country, only country that could have that seamless situation are countries where there are no elections. Think about it. Just think about it. The only countries where there is a seamless plan for development, countries where there are no elections. Every political party wins an election on its manifesto and what it plans to do for the people of the country. But I agree with you. There should be an overarching plan. And these plans should have certain, to my mind, these plans should have certain guidelines. Education for all, housing for all, these kind of broad pointers that every government should aspire to. But I think that it is almost impossible in our system to get any political party to do the exact same thing its predecessor did. That's what I feel. But I think you're right. There should be an overarching guidelines, overarching plans for the development of a country. You're very correct. But in terms of the specifics, I think there always will be modifications.
Thank you.
Good day, Mr. Prime Minister. Ika Fergus, Communications Officer, St. Lucia Social Development Fund. Okay, Mr. Prime Minister.
You no longer is here?
No.
Oh, You've advanced or you?
Yes, sir. My question, what are your plans or new elements that you aim to implement to increase the success of the projects, the ongoing projects and the new projects that the SSDF is responsible for, especially the projects of our social workers in Our Boys Matter, Hope, Save Our Boys, and housing, poverty reduction, etc.?
All right. SSDF is a very important arm of the government apparatus. SSDF is a statutory board. It works with, it has its own board. It has more flexibility than the government's operations. The SSDF right now does many things that remain unknown. The SS is involved in education, is involved in an aftercare program for a care program for the elderly. And this is something that a country we have to deal with. How do we treat our elderly? How do we treat people who are retired? How do we deal with their loneliness? How do we deal with their health needs? We are ridiculed for our 80 plus. We are ridiculed. It's a ridicule. Starting from nowhere, trying to see if we could get somewhere in terms of our 80 plus program has become a source of ridicule to some people. But the SSDF deals that. Do you know that there are hundreds of elderly people in this country who, when the SSDF worker leaves them on a Friday, no one takes care of them until Monday? These are the silent things in our society that are seldom exposed. The SSDF deals with that. In fact, next year, I will ask the SSDF board to see if they can increase the time frame as far as care is concerned, so they can do some care for these elderly people on weekends. The SSDF is involved in a rehabilitation program for ex-convicts. That is going to be expanded next year. The SSDF is working with the SEEDS project with Prince Kailash and Dr. King, etc. And you know the hue and cry happened when the government made a contribution to that program. You knew the hue and cry that happened. The SSDF is involved in the Boys Matter program. Next year, the SSDF is going to strengthen its handles as far as the social program is concerned, working in conjunction with the Ministry of Equity. But the good thing about the SSDF is their flexibility as far as, because they are a statutory board, they have their own board, they have their own management, so they don't get under the government strictures as far as budgetary is concerned. But accountability is important. So next year, you can look to more involvement from the SSDF.
Okay, and just to continue with yours, with that along that lines, are you satisfied with the progress and what the SSDF has done thus far?
Yes, we are. But you know, politicians who put people first are never satisfied. But we're very happy with what the SSDF has been doing. We've given them the resources. We're going to try to increase these resources so they can have more reach. There are certain things that I want them to do. I'd like them to see about expanding the home care program, particularly on weekends for the elderly people. I'd like them to deal more with men, boys, men. This is an issue. How young men seem to always be in conflict with the law, young men. But we hope that they can improve, but we're very happy for them doing so far.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thanks. All right. Yes, last one?
Yes, last two.
Lucia wants to have a second round?
Well, we will promise.
No, you have a second. No, you have a second round. Yeah. Listen, I just want to talk to you. You know. Why did I don't talk to you?
Well, I don't know. You haven't spoken to me yet. You haven't given me a date.
Yeah.
To wrap up, questions about the year of infrastructure and infrastructure.
The who?
The year of infrastructure
Yeah.
and infrastructure in general, I know that the CDB is being had on regional governments to improve their rate of implementation in terms
the
of
CDB has been had, or we had in vision.
Yes, to improve the rate of implementing projects from initial start to completion, and we'd have seen that, of course, with the Millennium Highway. This year being your administration's year of infrastructure, moving into next year, what is your administration going to do to facilitate faster implementation?
There is something that we've overlooked. Probably we've genuinely overlooked it. The impact of the weather on infrastructure, rain, something we've overlooked, right? Even people in private construction are complaining about how there's been rain, it's been raining, which causes halts in infrastructure program. But the year of infrastructure will end in March, not in December, March, because infrastructure, it's a fiscal year. You've seen the work have started. Chaussee Road, we're going to be starting work in Vieux-Fort North. We're going to do some serious road work in Vieux-Fort South. There we're going to be doing work on the road that had to be done a long time ago, La Pointe in Mico. But whilst we do that, we have to rebuild all the time. You may note that there is a sink on the Pralle, in Pralle, there's a sink. You know, the infrastructure in this country is aging. It's aging in infrastructure. Aging. There's never been in this country a complete rehabilitation of the roads in this country, apart from what we did on the West Coast and the East Coast a long time ago. But in terms of constant rehabilitation of the entire infrastructure of the country, that has never been done. And it can't be done because of the cost. But we want to make incremental steps, little by little, incremental steps. But I can assure you, starting from January, weather permitting, you will see you will see a real attack on the roads in this country. We've imported a pothole truck that should be in the country by May or June next year, so we can at least do some immediate potholing. A new truck we've imported, a potholing truck, so we can at least make the ride more comfortable whilst we deal with the rest of it.
Yes, and just the final one from me. It is the festive season, of course. Your colleagues in the opposition, of course. Your colleagues in the opposition are lambasting your administration for what they have described as no sort of action from the government this festive season to relieve, let's say, economic hardships or hurdles on the people of St. Lucia. What do you agree with that? What do you have to say to that?
Do you agree with that?
What is your response, Mr. Prime Minister?
Let me answer it by telling you that political power comes and political power goes. And the measure of a man is when, according to Sidney Poitier, is when they can accept defeat and work to get back victory. That's the measure of a man or a woman, right? I have known opposition. I've been there. I've been there. I've known opposition. So I understand why the opposition is bitter. But in the meantime, I always implore them not to burn the house to kill the rats. That's all I'm saying on that matter. But I wish everybody season's greetings. Unemployment has now is at 11%. Everybody, these people who got jobs, they have no political color. They got jobs, 11%. I'm hoping that we have single-digit unemployment next year with all the projects that come on stream. So I don't wish gloom and doom on this country. I've never wished gloom and doom on this country. Never. Never. What I'm saying to you is that the measure of a man is how they can accept defeat and work towards victory. Yes, Lisa. You're on your second round, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
3 and 4.
Not sustainable.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You've just mentioned the unemployment figures there. We're at 11%, third quarter. So I want to ask, and I think the administration is touting some of the construction projects that are going on around. However, sorry, my notes are so scattered. Okay. According to the government, the Central Statistics Office, when we look at, and they only have the 2 reporting periods here for the first quarter and second quarter for 2024, construction, when we look at employed labor force by industry group, for the 2024 first quarter, we've seen 1,931. And for the second quarter, we've seen 358. So can you explain to us why there's this disparity? If we're seeing you touting construction jobs, why is it that most St. Lucians are not in those construction jobs?
Well, I think that is a question that we have to ask the CSO to answer. Because, you see, the CSO is an independent body. They send the papers, they send for me just like they send to you. I don't see it before. They don't say to the Prime Minister, here are the figures which I'm going to publish.
Oh, this is on their website, by the way. This is on their website, by the way.
Well, if they have that, you have to ask for an explanation. But what I know is that there's a shortage of building materials. There's always a shortage of cement. I don't know where it's going. There is a shortage of workers. Shortage of workers in the construction industry. If you speak to any contractor, he'll tell you he cannot find workers, not even unskilled workers. So if the CSO says that, I think I will ask the Director of Statistics to face the press and explain these things.
I also want to talk about the plan for reducing the unemployment rates in specific areas across St. Lucia. Well, we know in the Castries Rural, we've seen that for the second quarter, the unemployment in Castries Rural is 4,971. In VA4, second quarter, it's 2,038. In January, we are at 1,255. Labrion, Grosile are tied at 1,229. And all of them have seen an increase, except for Castries Rural that decreased dramatically from 6,045 to the 4,971. So for the Southern Belt, we've seen that the unemployment is very much a sticking point. It's a problem there. How do you propose to address the unemployment rate for the people in the South?
Yes. Well, that is simply, as I said, without doing the figures, that's an urban drift. People are leaving the areas and moving into Castries. That's historic. It happens all the time. People leave the South, and that's not a new phenomenon. And they move into the North, because that's where the so-called employment opportunities exist. But we are going to be building the administrative center in the South. That's going to help in construction and employment. That's hopefully I can start that by March. We will start work on the ground. We are seeing going to be some construction work in the South. Some roads are going to be built in the South. The government's housing policy. We are hoping to encourage housing construction in the south of the country also. So we are going to begin work on the Hiwanora Airport in the south, the Hiwanora Terminal Building in the south of the country. That's supposed to start next year, by March, April. We are continuing work on the control tower. That's going to happen in the south. So we hope to be able to stem that drift from the south to the north of the country. But as to the details of the figures, the CSO should have a press conference to explain the details of of the figures.
Would you happen to have the figures for the number of work permits given for the construction sector as well, Prime
I will
Minister?
not have it from my head, but I can always ask the CSO for you, or you can ask them. The CSO is open, to discuss. This Prime Minister does not, I know that calls me for some contention, but the CSO, my civil servants are allowed to be professional.
Thank you for the guidance, Prime Minister.
Mr. Nina, remind you of the
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if my colleagues mind if I perhaps take
Go ahead, Lisa.
five more minutes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Press Secretary. I thank you. Perhaps the Prime Minister may assist me here. I need to ask a question on the Youth Economy Agency, Prime Minister, and it has been a flagship for your administration. With regard to its sustainability, because I believe it is being funded through loans.
No,
there's a loan. We had a
so two sources: grants and loans. Direct government subvention, and a loan from the CDB, and a grant from the CDB.
So when next would we expect a funding cycle
for the young people of St. Lucia? I will borrow all I can.
How do we measure? What is the plan in terms of measuring the impact of the Youth Economy Agency?
There was a exhibition on Constitutional Park. You saw it. You saw it. You saw the products that these young people produce. I was so proud. The projects that these young people produce. Right now, they're going into technology. They are using, there was an investment forum on Saturday. We criticize the young people of this country a lot. I'm so proud of the young people of this country. Most of them, 90% of them, their achievements at school, how we do at school. And the youth economy has just brought that entrepreneurship spirit. It's just, we cannot meet the demands of young people, the ideas that they have, but it's a matter of time and patience. So I can assure the young people of this country, once this government is in control of the economic fortunes of this country, the youth economy will continue to be funded and it will grow from strength to strength.
Okay. With respect to that, Prime Minister, again, the IMF, I just want to quote the IMF in its Article 4 consultation. This time that's from August 25th, 2023. And it says that the recently created youth economy agencies to support youth employment and business development and entrepreneurship with training and guidance could be complemented with social programs that tackle non-economic barriers to employment. So I'm sure you're aware of that.
That's exactly what we're doing at the SSDF. And that's what we did with
yes, but specifically in conjunction if those will be walking through your doors at the youth agency.
Yeah, good point. That is happening, but it could be expanded. That's happening. That is happening. Because the CDB were very involved in the youth economy after youth economy was espoused as a government policy. The CDB got involved and worked with the youth economy in its programs.
Okay, so we've not outlined any specific social programs that would be complementing.
The mentoring has a social complement, the mentoring, and then the conflict resolution. And the conflict resolution is part of it, because before you get a loan, that's why the loan has taken so long, you have to get trained in all these things. And further, we are trying to target young men who have been in conflict with the law. We get trying to target them, and there has been some support and some improvement in that regard, in that we have given grants to young men who have been in conflict with the law. That's going to be expanded next year.
Okay. I know we have some issues in the banking sector as well, but since I'm being pressed in terms of non-performing loans, in terms of the high liquidity, but we're seeing a contraction in lending.
And that's a discussion that is going on, in that there's excess liquidity in the system, but the banks seem to be risk averse. And this is a very complex matrix. Opening bank accounts, money laundering, NAMLOC. It's a very complicated network, which says that there's a lot of money, but people don't seem to be able to tap it. And that's why we are having a housing project where we're trying to say to the banks, let us zero in on a particular sectors of the economy, housing. We're very, very, very interested in expanding the housing stock of this country. And we have created incentives for the housing stock of this country to see if we can use some of that liquidity in housing. But again, there must be personal responsibility as far as that's concerned.
Okay, so in the
Thank you. In the interest of time, may I just have my final question, Prime Minister?
In the interest of time and fairness, this conference will end in 5 minutes. So Lisa, you have one final question, and I will take one final question from another media house. And we close after that.
Thank you very much, Press Secretary. You mentioned how the housing stock, Prime Minister, and at the last sitting, the final sitting of the House of Assembly for the year indicated that the housing project at Rock Hall is going to continue in earnest come, I think you said January?
Yes, it's continuing now. Work is happening. It's continuing.
Work is happening as we speak.
What stopped the work was our adherence to principle and policy. We will not continue unless we are planning approval. That's how this government behaves. That's how we act.
It should have started since February of this year, however.
No, wrong. Very wrong. Anyhow, that's when
it's stated in the contract.
Which contract?
The contract with BMAX?
That has been suspended. You didn't know?
Well, the contract has been suspended.
Yeah, you're not following the news. Long time.
No, why has the contract been suspended?
Because the government decided that because of the discussion happening, that you will stop the contract. That's a long time ago. This is still news.
Well, that's news to me.
Well, let's continue with your question. It has been suspended. Yeah.
Oh, and so you were actively seeking a new
minutes.
You are actively seeking a new investor. Or you secured a new investor, a new developer.
The housing project in Rockall is continuing.
As a CIP project.
It's continuing.
As a CIP project.
It's continuing.
Okay, so you're not prepared to give us any details?
What's the detail is when the people begin to live in the houses. That's a detail.
Okay, Lisa, you have exhausted your time on the microphone. Any other questions before I close? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. This press conference has come to an end.
Nobody had questions?
Huh?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
And before we leave, I'd just like to inform you.
I will allow her to take my spot.
Oh, you're trading sports. What do you want to ask about, Lisa? CIP?
Yeah, but we've ended.
Okay. So let's do that one-on-one.
Again, another promise?
It's not a promise. Your date is just coming soon.
You see, Lisa, as I tell you, I'm a non-conflict person. I don't conflict with anybody. Yeah, okay.
You've ever known me to be a conflict person?
Sometimes I wonder.
Oh, no. Remember, I'm in your head. Huh? We bear the similar traits.
You do?
Remember that.
Listen, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and thanks for your cooperation. Thanks about sometimes I believe that you are a kind of way. But I really want to thank you for what you've done. And let's work together. Let's get the country going together.
It has been a joy, Prime Minister.
It's our country. Bye-bye. Season's greetings.
Thank you so much. Same to you and your family.
Thank you.
It's so uplifting. I know I've said that like 100 times, but it's really something that has really affected my life personally. The idea